Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different studios. And today I have somebody that's like connected through family overlapping big time. So a lot of that connection definitely goes with, if you know me, I'm usually rocking with my team, my crew, like they brothers. So in that crew of brothers, definitely Mr. DeJuan Wooden. Shout out all the time, Mr. DeJuan Wooden. And then also Mike Willie. Mike Willie, if you know Grind Ave and so many other things, Rose Artistry. And through that same connection comes like, it's like families or something, like it's the mafia or something. But through those families, it intersects other people. And one of those key other people with Mike Will is another artist himself. Very similar path of like used hip hop to create other business ventures and a whole lot of other things and creatively currently, Mr. Mark Jackson, but we know him better in rhyme, in the art flow. MJ the Don, how you feeling, my brother?
Man, I'm feeling real good, man. I'm glad to be here. I've been wanting to chop some game with you.
Yeah,
for
man.
some time.
Yeah, we've been definitely planning this for a minute, and it just took time. Everything happens in due time, bro.
Absolutely.
Everything happens in due time. So within this same due time, we usually start these stories with Detroit stories. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
What's the roots? When did your people make it? What's y'all ties to the city of Detroit?
As far as I know, my great grandmother was from Chicago.
Okay.
She wrote for the Michigan Chronicle, and she ended up coming here with her husband, and that's where it started. So I don't really can't recollect any Southern roots exactly, but that's what I've always heard.
So from Chicago to Detroit, you still got a lot of people in the Chi?
Actually, no. Maybe like 2 or 3 on my dad's side, but
Okay.
so no.
All right. So whereabouts, what neighborhood was your family carving their teeth in the D?
Man, scattered about. Mainly on 14th. That's the one my mom's always talked about. Did a lot on the east side. My grandma moved to Menden in the red zone. So we were scattered about.
All right. So if people don't know, definitely the red zone. If you go back a little bit farther, I would call that more so like the stomping grounds, like Conant Gardens. And some people they shout it out. Like currently, if you old school, it's Conant Gardens. If you new, now it's the red zone.
Red zone.
And you definitely know in the red of like, how the little homies getting down in street business right now. Got it as the red zone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that Coney Island is a you better know a couple people around.
Oh yeah,
that,
most definitely.
around that way.
And that's funny because I never looked at it like that because I grew up over there, spending summers at my grandma's house. So a lot of those guys I grew up with are,
Yeah.
the OGs. And
Yeah, I was gonna say that right at this
I
point.
feel
They
absolutely safe over
yeah,
there.
yeah. It's like it's like, hey, I know your dad for real.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You look just like.
Right. So I never looked at it like that. And when they said it was the most dangerous zip code, I'm like, really? Wow.
As of now, and I mean, it definitely is one of those things. If you know the people over that way, when I think of that, like I want to say it's like a benefit going for them too. Like it's a lot of other stuff, but I think Amp Filler, I think Amp Filler, I think. I mean, so much of the tradition of Persian. It's a lot, just like culture in those spaces and pockets that do exist over there. And then some of that culture definitely connects to street culture too, but that street culture can become artistry too, as Detroit connects things.
Especially if you portray it and not glorify it. It's one thing to portray something than to glorify it.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. You know what I'm saying? It's a reflection of where things stand.
Yep.
So within that same journey, as you talk about like that neighborhood, that community, and being over there as a kid, and then family. What do you think connected your family to stay that space east and in that community?
I really don't know. I just seem like my family did their own thing. Like west, east side. So when I was a small fella, we was in Southwest.
Whereabouts?
West Grand Boulevard somewhere. Then we moved to like 8 Mile Losser. Then when my mother remarried, I moved east.
Yeah. All right, so you like been like almost like in a pocket of a little bit of different neighborhoods and communities. So you know what I'm saying? Like I think of that like 8 Mile Lasser, and we think of like Henry Ford, like all that, like not far from, you know, it's not necessarily that, but people will say like Sconey, but you know, I think more so I think like
Sconey down.
I definitely think more so like I think you know, I think Northland Roller Rink when I think of 8 Mile and Lasser so much more.
Absolutely.
You know, and then you said definitely like that Southwest, West Grand Boulevard and that like connection too. So even seeing that, and then you said then from there moving back east. So seeing the different taste of that as a kid, you were one of those kids that like transverse different neighborhoods when so many kids may just stay in their own neighborhood.
Right.
Did anything stand out like as a kid going and in different places like, okay, they doing stuff over here that's a little bit different than over there, like, you know?
Well, what I gathered, because I moved from the east to the west when I was 14. So what I gathered, I just felt like the east side felt more like family. You know, the west side was a little different to me. You know, as far as that when like people weren't outside as much. Now, of course, in certain neighborhoods on the west side.
Yeah. But you speaking of an overall tone.
Yeah, so I always felt more, I don't want to say comfortable, but I felt more family, you know, it was like a nice vibe. You know, I didn't really see it like that. Now, when you look at places like Dexter, Linwood area, you know, a lot of places that had those 2-family flats and stuff like that, you can feel like a family vibe there, but that's the biggest thing I noticed, like the difference. And I think the biggest misconception people have about the east side is that it's the savage part. But there's savage parts, you know, about both sides. But I think the east side is pretty laid back and cool. I did like that.
I actually agree as a person that like started my high school journey at King and then finished at Northwestern. Like I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people always talk about how hood the east side is. It's like, to me, my homie Sterling always said, it's like no frills, it seems like, on the east side. Whereas the west side it's a different like energy. Like it's like, yo, we going for more like you know, we stunting, we shining, we moving in a different area. Like Eastland, quote, this is really going old school, like the malls culture. Eastland and Northland is basically the same mall, but it feels completely different.
It does.
You know what I'm saying? Like when both were active. You know what I'm saying? Like Eastland is the mall where like a dude, this is what's so crazy. Like a dude in Northland will be wearing, I don't know, $10,000 worth of jewelry and clothes and all of that stuff, but go into Northland to buy a $2 pretzel.
Yeah.
On the flip side, a guy on the east side will be in like, you know, a shirt you can see he clearly just cut some grass with, you know what I'm saying, some sweatpants, but then, you know, walk down to like a jewelry store and pass out, you know, like $10,000 on the table, like, yo, let me get this, and this. And you be like, for real? Like, this don't even, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but you know, it's the women. The women are different. East side women more chill. They don't, you know, they don't require, you know, the pageantry of balling, you know. You know what I'm saying?
He said the pageantry of balling.
Yeah. I went to Mumford, man. They was mean, man. You had to be Dougie fresh. You know what I'm saying? That's what it breaks down historically. Women kind of dictate, you know, how dudes move. You know,
I mean, it's so funny because I already can think it's like somebody crying West Side tears right now. Like, see, man, I needed them Jordans and my mama ain't understand. You know what I'm saying? There's somebody on the east side like, why are you fronting on all of this? You know what I'm saying? Just go up to her and talk to her, because that will happen on the east side. You know what I'm saying? It'd be a grown man on his bike, roll up on the bicycle, like, what up? Let me get your number.
Yeah, they with it.
And she in a car. You know what I'm saying? Like brand new Mercedes-Benz truck. He gonna be like, yo, what's up? Holla at me.
Yep. And usually when you shoot like that, you know, you gonna catch something. You will catch something.
Whereas a West Sider would think, man, all I got is my bicycle today.
Yep.
Need to be on some grown men.
Real talk.
All right, so like moving in there. So you mentioned Mumford. What and being in that mix, and definitely the Mustangs is one of those like classic schools. Mumford is like one of those schools where like a lot of people that like me that started Cass or Renaissance ended Mumford. It's one of those like it's like a neighborhood school that definitely had all the elements of neighborhood school, but it was one of those neighborhood schools that I think a lot of parents looked at like, okay, well it ain't as crazy as Redford or something. Right, so it's cool.
Quite. It was a shocker because I came from Bethany Lutheran Middle School, so it's a smaller school. So when you go to a big high school, and it's just, I mean, the gangs was wild, and it was like a culture. It was like a culture shock, you know. So even being from the East Side, I wasn't exposed to too much wild stuff. Every blue moon, you'll see a few scraps on the block. I mean, that was normal. Then they'd make up. But this was like, this was real savage for me.
Yeah.
And it, like you said, it's not even the worst. You know what I'm saying? Morphin's not even the worst.
Yeah. And even with it, the culture, because like we say, like, you know, Mumford, if like back in the day, people always knew it's like, okay, if you're going to pick a neighborhood school, because a lot of girls went to Mumford. So Mumford was one of them schools that like it attracted a lot of other attention too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. It was interesting. It was interesting to say the least.
You know, and people be like, yo, you know, Beverly Hills Cop went here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was cool. What was that show? It was called it was a show with a preacher. It was called Good News. So I guess a couple of them went to Mumford. So they came up to the school and showed love. So it was a lot of history. And honestly, other than the gang violence, the curriculum, it seemed pretty straight. The counselors were really into it. It was
I mean,
some real good dudes.
I mean, and definitely like when I think of like a lot of the gangs when we think of Detroit neighborhoods, like shout out my homie Yusef Shakur in Zone 8 in Northwestern where I went.
Zone 8, man.
But it's more like
yes,
it's like neighborhoods and streets, like, and that's what's so different now about like I think the tradition of like things being red zone. So like a neighborhood gang. And I'm not, Lord knows, it's like somebody from the number streets from Northwestern gonna be like, no, we was real. Like it's not real, but it's a different relationship for how you even end up being a part of and associated with, because it's like kind of through a neighborhood. So like a school like Mumford, just where it sits. So you're going to be looking at, you know, PAs, people from Puritan Avenue. You're going to be looking at people from 6 Mile. And you're going to be looking at a couple people from 7 Mile. So like these streets and these associations, just because like through the proximity of the neighborhood you grow up in, kind of put you in situations where it's like, oh, man, here we go. Like me at Northwestern, I was hanging around people from like Dexter and Gladstone and Carter. So that was kind of like who we would hang around. So if they get into something crazy with somebody from across the bridge, it's like by default, they come to me like, you connected to them. And it's like, I'm like, well, I mean, I didn't know that I didn't know he had a problem, but I guess because he got a problem, by default, you think I got a problem. By this time, I'm in the 11th grade. Like, I ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I'm square. I'm Urkel.
That was me. Like, I'm going to say Urkel, but I moved to the University District. So it's set in between 7 Mile and 6 Mile. So I was from the East Side. I didn't even go to middle school. So I was cool with everybody.
You like I ain't got nothing to do with none of this.
I had to learn the politics.
Y'all talking about beefs that go back to Cerveny.
Man, so you got PAs. I knew a lot of those guys. I mean, a lot of my friends today. Then you got 6 Mile and the 7 Mile BK and the 7 Mile 20s. And you can't wear orange because the 20s wear. It's like it was a lot to learn. There's a few 8 Miles in there, Sconies, but.
Yep.
A couple of Linwood Dexter cats, but nobody really.
I mean, if you were claiming Linwood at Mumford, you were not claiming anything. You were like that person that's like, I can act like I'm really from Linwood because ain't nobody really from Linwood around here.
Right.
Then somebody got a real cousin that went to Central, like, hey, you know my man? Like,
right.
Well, he ain't from the hood.
He couldn't come outside. You know what I'm saying?
It's like you bishop over here now because nobody else around.
So I go reinvent yourself.
So in that hip hop, what's your connection to hip hop at this time? Like, as you know, I know my journey definitely starts like middle school and loving it in high school and everything. What's your journey connecting you to hip hop?
For me, it started when I was on the East Side still at Bethany. Like my uncles they've always bumped a lot of West Coast. You know, he didn't really like Snoop. Uncle Mark didn't really like Snoop like that. But I would hear a lot of Snoop, Warren G, Ghetto Boys, stuff like that. So my first rhyme I wrote was, and DJ Quick, my first rhyme I wrote was a DJ Quick song. I rewrote the lyrics to DJ Quick song, roasting a girl at school that, that smelled funny. Just,
Yeah,
childish.
what kids
But
do.
it turned into a rhyme, and I just always play with it. You know what I'm saying?
And learning just in that pattern, as you mentioned, like just kind of like connecting through the uncle and music, and you're listening and learning in your ear.
Right.
What was the when did it become from like hobbyish to like, okay, no, I want to do this?
When I found out I was good, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would write raps. I'll never forget it. I used to listen to Bone Thugs a lot, right? And I remember I was rapping then, and I remember my cousin Keith. He was like, "Bro, can you please stop listening to Bone Thugs for a second? Listen to It Was Written."
Hilarious. That's
Listen to It Was Written.
hilarious.
So I laid on the bed.
You were that
he laid
person.
on the
I'm just
floor.
messing
Yeah. He like, just listen, and I listened. It Was Written, and the word, I saw what he was doing. I'm like, you can just do more than just. It's almost like drawing 2D and going to 3D for the first time. It's like, yo, you can add layers to what you're saying. Like, you can really describe, certain scenes, and that's when, boom. So my first rap after that, it was, boom, it was different. Then when people started saying I was good, and that's when I got into it, battle rapping in the lunchroom and stuff like that.
And it's interesting. So let me get a context. So like in Detroit at the time, of Bones' ascension to success, I think Detroit kind of naturally has more sensibilities towards a lot of the West Coast music anyway.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But when Bone connected through Eazy-E came out with really their first album that we know them from was like an EP. It wasn't even like a full album, but like when we heard Thuggish Ruggish Bone and For the Love of Money, they were those songs I think stayed in rotations in Detroit so much just off of the like kind of the connection. You knew these dudes was from Cleveland. They rapping fast in harmony. It sounds different. But then when their second album after Easy Dies come out in East 99, I want to say like Detroit, like, we had these talks like the Detroit market for Bone probably like in 1995, 96, and 97. Probably, but I know this sounds crazy for people that are listening to this, but I'm being like very serious. So Tupac at the time could be looked at as like, multiply Drake times 2. But I think in a Detroit market in 1995, 96, I would argue that if Bone was to do a concert the same day Tupac was to do a concert, I'm saying that I think it would split the audience, meaning that you would have a packed show probably in both places. And it was not like that probably throughout the country. This was like a very beloved market for them.
Definitely.
And that music for so many people. Because like when East 99, when First of the Month came out, I want to say that played on a jukebox like,
oh man.
That man played on a jukebox all day for like 2 months.
All day. I loved it though.
So for you to open your mind to like Nas and It Was Written, as your cousin was like, check this out. Check this out.
He was so tired of that bone. He's like, bro, come on, man. So I'm running around rapping it all day. He's like, bro, please. So I listened, and it was like it changed me. Pause. It changed me.
So within that, what was like? Did you start at that point like going back? Did you looking at other Nas music? Did you start like who did you go?
Straight back to Illmatic.
Okay, and and what was your appreciation for Illmatic at the time?
I was like, oh my God, like he was rapping like this in 93, 94?
And he was like, what was he like? What was he like 18? Like, okay, like Nas was 18, like 18, but like when he wrote it, he was probably like between like 16 and 17 writing a lot of those lyrics.
Yeah, it was like insane to me. Like, and oh my goodness, it changed my life, musically.
And what impact did it have on your as you said battle rhyming and different things like that, but what did it change, like the pace? Did it change what you were rapping about? Did it change like Did you change your vocabulary? What was the impact of the flow?
It was vocabulary, but the main thing was the imagery. I felt the need to describe everything. Like he had a line. He said, "Jump out the range, empty out the ashtray." Something that simple was like jump out the. I could see that. You used to see ballers pull up wherever sometimes at the county, jump out, brush the ashes off of them. You know what I'm saying? It was like I could see it. Because a lot of rappers they'll just say, "I come inside your house with the gun." Da da da. You can't see it. I open the door slow. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference in how you describe it. And that's what changed. That's what changed mainly. And of course the vocabulary. You know what I'm saying?
So at this point, you're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And you're winning battles and all of that. What's the next step in progression in the rhyme?
It was after I was winning battles. Then after that, it was like just trying to find my place. So I was always in a group with other people. You know what I'm saying? Like just trying different things. Nothing ever worked. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the crews. Let me choose my words wisely because I'm the arrogant guy out of everybody. But nobody was as cold. You know what I mean? In a lot of my circles, so it'll always be weird, but eventually, I decided to do a solo thing. A good friend of mine, like, yo, well, let me manage you. Like, all right, manage me. Let's try it. Then that's when I start pushing for real.
Are you still in high school at this time? Is it after high school?
This is after high school. Like, it took me a minute to actually pursue it. Now, my Uncle Mark, he had a studio, and we would put out stuff. You know what I'm saying? Back then, you would go to Belle Isle, hand out CDs and stuff like that. I think Uncle Mark got me my first show, or got us our first show. It was a few of us. I can't remember where it was, but this is still all after high school. So I started hitting the bullfrog a lot and stuff like that. So I had a little performance under my belt before I really started pursuing it.
Okay. And up to this point, like before that, you were just like, how did you look at it? Like were you like, okay, let me take it serious? Was you like, I just like this? Was it more like a hobby? What was the perspective?
Well, the thing in the beginning, it was like, it didn't seem feasible. You know what I'm saying? It's like, ain't no way. Like, I felt like, you know how Big Sean got on? Like, I felt like you had to do it like that. You have to find somebody that's on and like spit your heart out, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully you get signed. I didn't see it as a thing that could really happen for a while. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the days where now you can just put a record out. Like, you can have it on all streaming platforms in 24 hours or less. But then it was like, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
So
it was a dream, like a real dream.
I got you. So it didn't really seem as real.
Yeah.
What was the somebody said, like, yo, we can do this. So was it more so the manager stepping saying like, nah, let's really do this? Or was it more so like you saying, nah, I think I can do this?
It was really him. It was really him, man. Shout out to my homie Ish, man. He came to me like, yo, Kurt played some stuff for me, and I like it. My girl sings, Tamara Jewel. Like, let's do something. I'm like, all right, whatever. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Like, whatever, let's try.
Because, like, at this point, you've done stuff before. You like, whatever.
Right.
I'll get over there and see what happens with it.
What happens, because there's no fear or nothing. I mean, I do it effortlessly. You know what I mean? That's one thing I can just do, like, whether I want to do it or not. So it was like, cool. And things started happening.
So as things happen, and similar to me, you're learning other things and traits too. Like you're picking up some business skills, you're picking up managerial skills, you're picking up, I guess managerial and business naturally goes into speaking of organizing, but it takes a lot of organizing, being an independent artist, and then also seeing how that management works. And picking up those same skill sets, like playing to some of what we're going to talk about, what you're working on today, I'm guessing too. How are you applying and are you recognizing like you picking up a lot of these other traits independently launching these ventures into music, or is it just one of those things where it just seems like this is the next step? And I ask you this because even myself and a lot of my other homies, it's like we were doing independent, like through hip hop independently. We were doing a lot of other tasks and picking up on a lot of other traits that seem natural, but like you're not thinking like, okay, I'm a publicist. I'm a art director. I am curating an experience with this.
Right.
I'm a marketing rep. Like you're not wearing these hats. You're just doing it like I think that's what needs to be done.
Yep. Yeah, and you end up doing it. And I will say, as far as like music and business, my uncle always, he always pumped on the business, like learn the business. So he would give us BMI papers. We just like whatever. We don't know what this is, but in retrospect, it's like, yo, it did help me, and it does translate over to other businesses. Just like selling drugs, like a good successful drug dealer can most likely run a Fortune 500 company. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, things like that definitely overlapped into things I got into. You know what I'm saying? Because even things I did with music, I might implement in another project. Like the way I did art, if I did a cover or how I promoted myself on social media, I would like, use things I did in music to promote something else, like whatever businesses I might have been messing with at the time or something like that. So yeah, and I never thought of it like that. Like I never thought of it like music was really the origin. You know what I'm saying? My entrepreneurial mind.
And that's why I wanted to drive through there
Yeah.
because it's all like entrepreneurial ventures are creativity, and you're using creativity to pour into entrepreneurship, but independent hip hop is all creativity of how you're gonna approach things and how you're gonna make a presence, how you're gonna leave an oar and make a stance with this. So that leads to business itself, and then when you're in it too, other people be like, "Yo, can you do this for me? Or can you do that for me?" And all of that stuff. Like, I mean, hence some of where I'm at now. What other business ventures? Like, at what point does that start pivoting and you start diversifying, not just from being on stage and the mic and working on albums?
That was a little later down the line. When me and my kid's mother got together, we just always bounced ideas, different things to start. Let's do this. Let's do this. So it was a lot of trial and error, and that's when it really started. We were doing drop shipping and things like that. They caught some motion with Amazon. That was a big thing. Then that turned into auction flipping and wholesaling real estate. So it was just all a bunch of different things. But she would tell you like I was always scatterbrained. I just get bored with things easy. So even now she still does wholesaling, auction flipping. But I'm like I want to do something else. You know what I'm saying? Like I just want to do creative things. I don't want to do things just because I know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? So some might say it's a waste of talent, but I just want to do something I like. I get real bored easy. Like so, but yeah, that's when it started. When me and her linked up, and she had the mind. She was more. I'm more of the in the clouds guy, and she was more of the down to earth, practical. Like these are the steps we can do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yeah.
Let's explore that because that word boring is always a interesting word for me. Like I know what it means, but it always like even when I feel quote unquote bored, which I haven't felt bored in a while, I always like want to unpack like what is that state of boring for you as somebody that says you can get bored easy. Do you think it's like what is that? Is that and I'm gonna just give you two prompts that may help and guide that I may just be throwing out there. Is it more so like you feel like it's something better to do? Or is it something like what you're doing is not as fulfilling as you feel it should be?
I guess both, and I hate saying that as far as like there's something better to do because that sounds so lazy. Like if you're pursuing a business, starting a business, and going through with it, and you want to get some success out of it, like having something better to do, that's ridiculous. So I guess it was a mixture, but it was more so like, all right, what else we doing? Like, okay, you put so much into something, like, okay, now what? Okay, I don't want to do this. But I always was into automation. I want my money automated. I don't like working on stuff. Because I guess you know what it is? It was never a passion. And I always wondered what my passion was. So it's like, I'm not passionate about it. It's okay, I'm seeing a couple dollars, but it's like, okay, cool. What else? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what it was. Like, it's just not something I'm passionate about. Like a lot of people, want to get in the business, and I love it, but I wish I had that focus at that time, like where I want a coffee shop, and boom, I can put all my. That's why I love what you do. You have a lane, and you boom, you ran straight to it.
Respect.
Like,
Thank you.
like I love that, and that's something I always lacked. Not that I haven't seen fruits of my labor, but it just wasn't fulfilling.
But I think it is a balance between both, because that's where like I always wonder, because you're right. I mean, it's almost like what's the cost of the term I usually use is autonomy, meaning like the freedom of choice. At what cost? Meaning like if a person it's funny, Mike saw this too. It's a scary movie. I forget what the name of it is, but it's about this couple that go into this mansion, and it's like a safe they unlock. And if you unlock the safe, you basically can wish for whatever you want in the world, and it'll like appear in like this other room in the mansion somewhere, right? So it's almost like if you could have everything you quote unquote wanted materially, but it's no process in it, would that be fulfilling? So meaning like if you literally like whatever that may be, almost like if like tomorrow, you or I wake up and then they say, yo, guess what? We found out you a long lost descendant of the British crown, and tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? We got a spot for you in Buckingham Palace, you know what I'm saying? And whatever you want to do, great. You know what I'm saying? Actually, we gonna give you these islands and here and da 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 da, do what you do, which obviously for all my social justice friends, this is definitely colonialism like ever, goddamn it. You know what I'm saying? So this is ill-gotten gains, goddamn it. Right. So, but still, if it was given, it's like I could find myself bored. And I know the world would look at me and be like, damn, how you bored and you got everything you ever wanted? But it's like it's no process. Right. It's nothing triggering my mind. I'm not active in the functionality of unpacking it in my mind. Like I could see that as being something I would not appreciate. You know what I mean? So like in that, I think sometimes people's processes is touching on different things. As like when people look at my creative process, I got the TV on, I got podcasts on, sometimes music is on. I'm flipping between I have 3 different computers connected to my same TV monitor. So I'm flipping, like sometimes it's like, okay, my headspace is ready for video editing right now. Then it's like, enough video editing. Now it's time to go over to Photoshop and do some graphic design. Right. That's enough Photoshop. Now it's time to do some writing. That's enough writing. Now it's time to write some plans. That's enough plans. Now it's time to get up and do some exercise. That's enough exercise. Now it's like my day can seem extremely scattered. You know what I'm saying? But it's about that presence of mind for what needs to be done. Now, the tough thing becomes like at times I do need to focus on getting something done because I don't always have the luxury, as I was thinking about this a little bit more today through this journal prompt I'm going through, of like, I don't necessarily always will have the luxury of doing what I want, when I want it, when I'm best ready for it. But it's similar to, athletics, I think. You know what I'm saying? Like, football players say, you're going to always be hurt. You may not be injured, especially as the season goes on. But if you really had that fresh set of legs, your arms is good. You know what I'm saying? You ain't dealing with that bruise. You ain't dealing with like that ankle sprain. You know what I'm saying? Then you amazing. How do you do it through the hurt time? But also you still need somewhat of a presence of mind for the readiness. It's like a balance. Yeah. So that's why I say that I think it's a mix of 2 types of people that do function well, hence the balance you and your girl had at that time doing it, because you do need somebody to sometimes say, no, let's drop that and let's touch this.
And that helped me. So even when I do things on my own, I can find some discipline, but I want automation. Because it's like, time is the real wealth. Because it's like, if I can make $100,000 a year, doing absolutely nothing. No, I'm not rich, but guess what? I have time to do
autonomy.
Kids, yeah. It's like, so to go back to what you said, like if I was just given the world, I don't, I would just find more fulfilling things to do. Like create stuff without worrying about how I'm gonna monetize it, just really having fun. Like That's why I wish I could draw sometimes. I wish I could just sit and, you know what I mean, just draw and create stuff, mold something. But yeah, autonomy.
Which pours us right into the project you're working on now.
Mm-hmm.
You wrote a book.
Yeah.
Let's share.
So I've been wanting to do one for a while. Once I got woke, how they say, I just always wanted to. Well, first, I knew that I had a talent explaining real difficult concepts spiritually, like esoteric concepts. I know how to demystify these things, and I learned how to, explain things. So I always wanted to write something about it that would spook people out. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody's getting more hip. You got the New Age movement, which I hate that because
you hate the
ancient spirituality isn't New Age. It's just kind of watered down. But before it was like, yo, you talking about if you say you meditate, people like, all right, dude's weird. Now it's like everybody's meditating, burning sage and stuff like that. But it is a little deeper than that. So that made me want to write. But I have 4 books. I just have them, but I'm like, this is not it. This is not it. Because when I go in, I'm going to a depth knowledge, stuff you might learn in a mystery school, like real dark stuff. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Kind of scared. You don't want people to think you're bugging out. You know what I'm saying? Just, stupid shit like that. But then I realized that I had the ability, like, to explain to my children these concepts, and it worked. And also, I think kids benefit more from these mindful, lessons, because before age 7, children operate in theta mode, to where they're just straight sponges. So, boom, I created this particular book. Yeah.
So what's the title of the book, and where do people get it?
It's called Mindful Minis. You can get it on Amazon. It's an ebook now, but I'll have prints probably before Christmas. Having some formatting issues, trying to do things myself. Yeah.
Process.
Yeah.
So,
and it's moderately priced. It's like $3 because it's not really a money grab. It's more of a I don't know. I just think, I don't know. That's my contribution to society.
So you said mindful minis, and then just that, like, what you're pouring into it, which you said connecting with your kids. But before we even get to connecting with your kids in this, what connected you to this, and when did you start picking up on this game?
I can't remember the year, but I'll never forget it. A friend of mine, CP, shout out comedian CP, he called me from the airport. He was out in Hollywood doing something. He's like, bro, I need to come holler at you. I got to tell you something. I'm like, all right. So we sit down. I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, man, don't think I'm crazy. I'm like, what is it? He was like, so I learned that, the power of the mind, like, we really control. I'm like, okay. What? He was like, it's this thing called the law of attraction. Now, mind, this is before the movie The Secret. This was weird to hear. I'm like, okay, the law of attraction. Like, no, what you create. So the more we talked, I'm like, it resonated. I'm like, yo, I know the truth when I hear it. And the proof came. I left him. I was on the way home. So now I'm freaking out. Like, okay, everything I think creates my reality. I'm like, oh my God. So before I left, my stepdad was like, yo, Mark, I see you still got that paper tag in your car. Like, you need to get that tight, man. You're going to get pulled over. I'm like, why did you say that? Oh my God, I'm going to get pulled over. Sure enough, I'm riding up Southfield Road. Now the plate is on the left in the window. It's like all the lanes are full. It's packed. It's a police car sitting over here. Like, there's no way possible he's seen this plate. And I looked in the rear view. He made his way over, pulled me over for the plate. And I'm like, yo, it bugged me out. So that led me to start reading more about these concepts. Then I started meditating. Then the rabbit hole got deeper and deeper. Then it led me to a lot of esoteric books, Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachers of All Nations. So I wanted to know what Masons knew. I wanted to know what the Illuminati really was. And, I just dove off into it. And it really, really resonated with me. And I always tell people, I got to a point where I moved past theories and belief to knowing, like, no, I know what time it is. Like, and it's still hard to explain to people, so I had to get out the preachy stage, you know what I mean? Because your spirit has to be ready for information. Like, because we were raised church or mosque or whatever it is, and that's no shade to anybody, because you're a product of how you were raised. And I say if a religion serves you, then roll with it. But I just always wanted to know more about what it was all about, because we were taught that you're not gonna know anything, or you're gonna barely know anything. Like, don't question God, don't question what it is. So people are just on this wheel thinking things are happening to them when they're creating it by default. And so now I'm at a point where I did want to, put something out, especially for kids, because they're full of imagination. They just came from that place, wherever they came from. That's why, like, a baby, you got to save a baby's life all day, because they just came here, they're exploring. You got to, hey, don't put that in the socket. Don't, so kids are fascinating to me, and that's what led me to this specific book. But no, I've been all over the place. I've read everything you can think of, like even the most darkest things, to see how spooky it was, and it's really not spooky.
So it's interesting you bring this up, and then like that we hear, because I want to drive down this lane a little bit more. So like, I think this is back to discussions I have with Mike and just other people, like about perception and reality. Mm-hmm. The reality is perception is reality. I was in a meeting earlier today, and I was talking to somebody, because like if enough people believe, then it is. It was a documentary that my homie Sterling put me onto, like What the Bleep They Know. And it basically opens up with, it's presenting the Native Americans that were here as ships abound from Spain. And they're looking at these ships, but they've never seen ships this big or people or any of this stuff. And then they're looking at it, and they almost don't see it, even though it's right there in front of them. Right? Mm-hmm. So when I watch this documentary, it's like, man, it's like you say, it's like, it's a little bit like, I don't really understand this.
Yeah.
So I watched that documentary at a time when I'm teaching at a last chance school. You know what I'm saying? Man. So it's so funny. Like, last chance school is like, okay, first chance school is just regular public school.
Right.
Second chance school is night school. Mm. Last chance school means you got kicked out of regular school. Yep. And night school, you skipped too much. And it's like, when your night school teacher noticed that you ain't in night school, it's like, damn, it's your last chance.
Yep.
So I'm teaching, as the kids called it, studio, but music production, right? And all the little homies is like, man, you don't know nobody, Mr. Frazier, you don't know nobody. And I'm like, who y'all want to meet? And they was like, man, they was like, get Stretch Money up here. And this is like at the height of Stretch Money success, right? So I called Stretch and Kenny Woods and Crane and them, all good people still, like, you know what I'm saying? And he come to the school, and it was just like the What the Bleep They Know. All the kids that was rappers that said, like, I be on if I meet Stretch. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I can meet him, then it'll be amazing. Mm-hmm. Stretch come to the class. All the kids that would rap all day immediately, like, skip class.
Really?
Huh. Right? And you saying this makes me connect all these dots a little bit more, because it tripped me out. And I'm like, that's interesting. Because I put them in a room with who they said they want to be in a room with. Mm-hmm. But they didn't really want to be in a room with them. Same thing happened on like the ascension of Cash Doll career. And shout out to her. Like right after she was off tour with Drake. All the rappers that you mentioned, the Bullfrog. I used to do No Bullshit at the Bullfrog with my homie Kills, or Khan, and City, shout out City. And then they like, man, nobody coming to the Bullfrog because y'all ain't got no big name acts. We need some better name Detroiters to do some stuff with. And I'm like, who y'all want to do something with? I gave a poll. This is me and like my marketing classes trying to organize rappers and stuff. And they was like, what type of shit is this? Mm-hmm. So after they filled out the poll, everybody said Cash Doll.
Okay.
We bring Cash Doll, Tony V's. Same type of like weird perspective. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Where, and shout out Cash Doll too. Like, you get them in the room and they didn't want to grasp it because it was like they couldn't conceptualize it. Exactly. Now, for the Native Americans, it was a different reason why I think they presented that in the documentary. It was because like we don't have a context of understanding this.
Yeah.
For the stretch and the cashed out thing, it's like the context of understanding this is that my obstacles of where I believe I would be at in success is the gateway through meeting this person. And if I meet this person, kind of similar to the like, would you take a half a meal or meet Jay-Z?
Right.
If I meet Jay-Z, I assume that's a gateway to $1 billion. I can be just like Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. But then you get put in that position and you don't get that $1 billion. Or you do get that $1 billion. Mm-hmm. And other things start stirring up inside of you, you know? So what I'm going to say in reference to this, in reference to the law of attraction and where things are, it's not as literal.
No, it's not.
Meaning that the idea is technically, if you want to get more healthy and it's always on your mind, you're not going to be eating Coney Island every day.
You're not.
You're going to naturally, like, your path as you really absorb yourself with it. And then it's tough because some of the things we can be faced with, especially in communities like mine, you can absorb yourself in a lot of things that you really don't want to attract yourself to, but it consumes your thought process so much that it just gets closer and closer to you every day, where inevitably it ends up happening. Mm-hmm. So as I'm talking more in this, but
it's subconscious.
Yeah.
That's what they don't tell you. They say, okay, if you think you can make, it's like, no, some people got a lot of mess in their subconscious. That's what creates your reality. Whatever you convince your subconscious of, this world or this matrix, whatever you want to call it, becomes convinced of. Like, we are a product of our traumas and what we were taught. You know what I'm saying? We're a product of it. It's more than just, okay, if I think it, if I wish it, it'll happen. It could for some people, because sometimes willpower can make, if you just like, I need to change, you squeeze from your stomach and just, something might happen. But the real science is, it's the subconscious. Like you said, if you sit up watching the wrong thing, and I was thinking about this with my parents, and they passed from COVID.
Condolences.
And I remember every time I would go over there, or every time I walk in the house, they're sitting in front of CNN. I'm like, y'all gotta really stop watching this stuff, man. It was intriguing them, but it's like, it becomes reality, and people don't want to hear this. Like, say, like cancer. I believe cancer cannot exist in a body that's emotionally, sound or stable. It's just because disease is, like they say, dis-ease, So it's all about the subconscious. So I be careful what I watch, Now, I watch a lot of stuff, but I don't just I don't watch the news. I don't sit and watch the news a lot. I don't sit and watch stuff that doesn't, line up.
And that's the root of, like I say, like what you consume and how you consume it.
Exactly.
And then their perspective of walking away, and then to unpack it, because it's so unique, like, especially when we think about American society. Like, like people will say, man, their culture is crazy over there. They won't let women do blah, 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 blah. Right. And then those same people will come here and they'll turn on the TV. And in America, you may turn on the TV and watch 45 people get shot within a matter of, I don't know, maybe an hour.
Yep.
And to other nations where they don't have that in their television, they may look at this like, this is crazy. But we looking at this like, wow, the hero got him back. And it's like, okay, what resolution comes from death and murdering somebody? You know what I'm saying? And desensitize. And like everything in life, if every human being is going to respond to a lot of this stuff differently. Like, I'm pretty sure even like what you're saying about cancer to another person is like, no, man, my family, and it could be triggering. Yeah. But to another person,
that's a real delicate thing. People don't want to hear that. I do understand that.
I know, but I mean, it could be almost anything nowadays. Yeah. Because a lot of things can be triggering, depending upon how you perceive whatever that is.
Right.
And it connecting to people. Like even as like one of the things that I look at, when we was coming up in the 90s, roasting, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was just a part of, me being a fat kid. We talking shit and all of that stuff. But nowadays it's like, no, that's bullying.
Yeah,
that's bad. And that has a problem in effect. And it's like, maybe for some of them kids, it really was like, crazy as hell. But for another kid, it's like, okay, you learn how to You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like it's sharpening a sword.
Yeah, but because it's like it's no telling how one thing can impact another person in reference to it.
That's real.
So as you talk about even this mindfulness, and then the last story I want to give in reference to all of this is you even talked about like dark arts and stuff. Like when I was a truck driver, truck driving was wild in the sense of like if you ever really want to meet like America. Truck driving is one gateway, but really get on a Greyhound from north to south, and you're gonna meet you're gonna really get a pulse of like, okay, America's a lot different than turning on this TV, looking on Instagram or whatever. You ride the Greyhound, you're going to see a real pulse of America, and it ain't gonna be like all like people like on drugs and stuff like that. It's gonna be some like more well-to-do people, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be some street people. It's going to be like a full scope of it.
Yep.
But during truck driving, I met my first devil worshiper, which it threw me off because I'm like, okay, to call yourself a devil worshiper, that means that to honor the devil means you honor God. So if God exists and the devil exists, why the hell would you pick the devil?
Right.
So then I get into this long discussion about like basically in devil worship it being something like, no, I don't. I only believe in self. I only believe in me. And I only believe in, which I'm not about to walk that path per se. But it just gave more perspective and a framework of it as opposed to what was said about this whole concept. So a lot of the things in dark arts, as I learned, is more about like I don't want to say worship, but like a lot of the rituals that would be associated with aspiring them to a deity would be turned inward and aspiring to self.
Absolutely.
And depending upon how you go about that journey, especially if it's internal and not external, like if you get on some Charles Manson shit, that is horrific, horrible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you'll be surprised the things that aspire that most people do, especially in the world of business, that tie right into a lot of those teachings and a lot of those writings that it's like, damn, this is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I know it definitely probably is for sure triggering a bunch of people I know that, follow because, yes, I do follow Christ in a reference of I was based in Christian religion and my relationship is more so through my grandma right here. So even that, like you say, people are raised in a way and we have ethics, rituals, traditions, culture, what we tie to. But my mind is at least open enough to, all right, if you're reasonable, let's have a discussion. Yeah. How is this happening?
Well, what I like to say with any, like I said, like with Christ, for instance, if you read it, it's saying it's in you. Like not to really seek outside of yourself for it. Not to say you want to pray to yourself. I mean, but perhaps you do. But it's about going within. And if you do pray, thanks. Say thanks, because you have the tools to get whatever you want, manifest whatever you want. Even the Bible says, and Jesus said, "Didn't I tell you ye were gods?"
And that's technically that technically is the story. But I think the distractions of how life and how we perceive the world, back to perception
and how it's
being reality.
presented to. I mean, because the Bible was a very profound book, especially from where it came from. But it was introduced to us to make us behave historically. Mm-hmm. So it made us more subservient. So I think it's the most vampiric religion there is.
Interesting.
You're giving, you're not really getting nothing back because you're kind of taught in it that you don't really deserve it. Money is the root of all evil. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's just all about how it's introduced to you. Because like you got the guys who are like the Hebrew Israelites who subscribe to, us being original Jews, and that to me that's the best perspective of it. They're taught different. You know what I'm saying? They're taught different. It's more depth to it because every religion comes from a mystical system.
I would say, and definitely itself. Yeah, I mean, because imagine like how clothes drop or albums drop. Like if a religion dropped tomorrow, like if it never existed and then somebody told you, you'd be like, what the hell is this? This guy's crazy as well. You know what I'm saying? But we have a context for it. Right. But really like what you say, because technically, I was having this discussion in Thanksgiving. It's like, yes, you're right. The story of Christianity, hence the Christ figure, the Son of God, and we're all children of God, is like if you can be as selfless as Christ, you will have the abundance of the wealth of a life of Christ.
Yep,
now,
like
for me,
Christ. Yeah, be like Christ. That's the whole thing.
That's community, that's creativity, that's culture, that's connecting to how I connect to things, and that's me and my journey and my walk and my path. And for you, it could be something different. But the minute that you start putting yourself, and that's what's so interesting about that perception and reality, because us putting ourselves so much in this and really concerned with how we're perceived by others is usually where a lot of the challenges start happening in life.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess it's a way to, I don't want to say worship yourself. It's like, to say there's anything wrong with putting yourself in it, it's almost like it's diminishing the power you do have. Like, because it is all about self. I mean, of course it's all about, you want to give, and because that's energy, giving and receiving, but you can't, I just don't.
Well, I'm gonna just say
I'm being specific. I don't want to say certain things. I don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah,
shock.
I got you. And I'm gonna just put it like this.
How I feel,
for it, and like what I always say, it's serenity prayer. You can control you. You can control your thoughts. You can control your actions up to the point of your abilities to. Everything extrinsic is hard to control, but you also control the perception of the external things around you. So it's one person that could be in a room, hence back to like perception. It's one person that could be in a room that people say, yo, this is chaotic as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like walking in, pick a dollar store in Detroit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And one person walking the dollar store and it's like, yo, this shit look crazy as hell.
It look crazy.
And then the next person is like, yo, I just need, I need some dish detergent. So it looks like, I don't know, whatever place we assume is, the best shopping. You know what I'm saying? The best shopping experience. That's
how I feel about Walmart. Like I hate it. I love Target though. That's what I'm like. I like Target. Like it feels bad. You know what I mean? Some people like, no, Walmart. Walmart the spot. It's like Coca-Cola, Pepsi.
Yeah.
Perception is reality. If somebody came in here and waved a gun and robbed us, we all here in the same room, we're going to perceive it differently.
Yeah.
Even if it's just slightly.
Because one person may be like, man, I felt bad about being over here anyway.
Yeah.
Another person may be like, damn, I got caught slipping. The next person may be like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, he probably needed more than me. Who knows how they going, you know what I'm saying?
It.
How
and
it's going to be perceived.
And that's why, and it's off-putting when I say this, that's why I say good or bad is subjective.
It very much is.
You know what I'm saying?
It becomes very relative to the condition and the perception of like who's looking at it from the lens, and that understanding to put yourself in that other spot. Right. And that's what's so unique about you saying you connected this game to your children. And you said young people, and I do think that it's a different curiosity and creativity with young people, because usually as we grow older, what shuts us down is so many people telling us that's wrong. No, don't do that.
Exactly.
And
it becomes
you got to do this, and now you like you calcify a lot of what would be that natural curiosity of like what you say, putting everything in your mouth, putting the putting something metal in the socket, doing putting your hand on the stove, and within it. And I'm not necessarily advocating for any of these behaviors per se, but sometimes a parent, you don't got time to sit and then interpret of like, damn, how do I explain to a 3-year-old like, yo, my G?
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot, you know what I'm saying? You can't.
You have to live, but that's what parents are for.
Smack the pit bull in the face.
Yeah, you can't.
You know what I'm saying? You got to figure out a way to, if you don't have the time, the bandwidth, and other things in life. Back to you don't have that autonomy. You working 12 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? You got off. You tired as hell. So it's like, yo, hey, stop, sit down, instead of look. How would you like it if somebody smacked you?
Right, exactly.
you know what I'm saying?
It's ways to handle it. You know what I'm saying?
So you said they took to this.
Yeah,
how did you even start presenting it to them to even try? What was was it like a, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to share some game with them too.
Well, honestly, they ask me questions. They might see a book I have. They might want to know what
kids,
it is.
Just the curiosity of a child.
Yeah, the curiosity. And my mother, she would take them to church. So they'd go to Sunday school with her. During COVID, she would like have, a little personal, Sunday school. So they would ask me about these different concepts. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to tell you, what I want to say. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but just take it all in. Then that will lead to different conversations, like about creating your reality. I used to have this thing when I would pick them up from school. I would be like, all right, you don't got to say it out loud, or you can't say it out loud. Think of a color you want to see all until we get home. Just think of a color you just want to keep seeing. And they saw it, and it amazed them. Like, say it's spring and you pick green. You're going to see a bunch of leaves and grass. Okay, whatever. Then all of a sudden, you're like, it's stupid shit green now. Like, I seen a green stop sign one time. Like, a green stop sign, green fire hydrant. So they start seeing it like, yo, like, you can really manipulate it just by focusing on it. Not even realizing you're focusing on it. It's almost like if you want a specific car, you start seeing that car. Or if you get the car, you'll start seeing a bunch of whatever it is, Cadillacs or whatever. It's like, so I would teach them stuff like that. Then that turned into other exercises. Like, let's play around with some stuff. I used to have a pendulum, and it like, you put it on your hand and you ask it questions. And what people don't know about pendulums and these crystals and stuff, it's like, it's just an apparatus to trick your subconscious mind into believing it. It's not, these things aren't magical on their own. So they would see it. Okay, Daddy asked it, I'm going to be a millionaire. Okay, I'll ask it. And yes, it'd be this way. And it'll do it because you're seeing what you want to see. So they'll see these different things. And that kind of turned into like a lot of deeper conversations, especially for my oldest. Like, I would really explain a lot of things to her. Even down, because she asked me about magic. And does magic work? I'm like, well, yeah, magic works, but it's not this crazy thing that people think. It's just, if you do a ritual, say you want to do a money ritual, like if you do a ritual, if the ritual calls for like 27 ingredients, you got to get the toenail of a polar bear, a hair from a squirrel, like, and you do all these things, and you turn around in a circle 17 times, and you yell at the top of all these things. Once you're done, ain't no doubt in your mind it's gonna happen. Like, you've shocked your mind
because it's basically back to that law of attraction.
Yeah, it's the way to trick
so
the
much
subconscious,
into the process and the steps of the journey. Like Kobe Bryant wanting to be Michael Jordan, which shout out Kobe, rest in peace. But like it was to the point where like when he first came, it's like, man, he walking like Jordan, he talking like Jordan, like he jumping like Jordan, he damn near chewing the gum like Jordan. Like, yo,
but you become it. See, like they say, prosperity or whatever, you just have to become it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and you're tricking your subconscious. And to change the subconscious is trauma, symbols, and repetition. Those three things that will affect your subconscious mind. So, even out cold rituals, people might cut a chicken's head off or something. That's a little traumatizing. But once you, jerk that mind, that trauma getting there, like, you will see some results for what you did.
So that just naturally leads me to they took to the game and then putting it in a book for others because that's your kid and that's your relationship.
Yeah. See, with the book, I mean, a lot of stuff I'm telling you not in the book. I didn't go too magical with it, but it's simply exercises because the point of the book is to teach them mindfulness, and all mindfulness is being able to stay in the moment you're in, where the past doesn't exist exactly, and the future doesn't exist, because everybody typically lives in the future or the past. Your fear of the future is based on the past.
Anxieties.
Exactly, because how something happened before, you think it's going to happen the same way,
But sometimes our anxieties ain't even our anxieties, which leads me to, like, as we close, and then I'm going to get to my classic Detroit is different questions, but this device. And this device and what it represents. What's your take on it? And how to approach it? Because it's not like we, tossing it, but what's your take on it and how we approach it?
It's like a gun. Like, a gun can do bad, or a gun can do, I won't say good, but it can protect you. You know what I'm saying? It's useful, but don't get consumed with it. Unless you're using it to get consumed with something that you might need to be consumed with. Some good knowledge, how to do the business you want to do, how to grow herbs or whatever it is, how to be a vegan, you know what I'm saying? And even with my kids with a phone, like, I let them have phone. My mom used to be like, man, they shouldn't have phone. I wish we had phones. Imagine back in the day, right? You at school or something and something happens, you need to talk to your mom. Like, you got to find a payphone or find an adult, or even as an adult. Remember before cell phones was popping, like, you break down, run out of gas, like, in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? So they're very useful, but I do equate it to, like, a gun. Same with AI. Like, I equate AI to a gun. It could be used to do phenomenal things, and it can also be used to do whatever diabolical thing they, are trying to do with it.
So that's what brings me to like with the device. So it was shocking to learn, but makes sense. Like how many psychologists work at Meta and LinkedIn and TikTok and these different things, just playing with just like even scrolling up.
Yeah.
And where things go and the endorphins associated with this. Because now we getting into like a lot of things like mentally and things like that. How do you think that mindfulness, because now it's almost like we have multiple selves that naturally exist. It's like you got you, right? You know what I'm saying? Then you got you with the different relationships you have. But now you also got a avatar of you extended through like social media and existing and through a person.
Yep.
What's the take in mindfulness of being mindful in that space?
Well, the thing is, you have to put the phone down for a minute and center yourself, so you won't be susceptible to what you might see. It's just like because you're in control. It's like, and the more you do these things, whether it's breathing or I got something there about mindful coloring, when you stay in that moment, it'll start becoming more and more natural, and you'll start understanding what you're feeling. And in reference to that, you'll start noticing that your thoughts aren't really yours. Like, most of them aren't. Like, one time...
Explain, break down.
I swear, like man, sometimes I'll be sitting thinking, then, like, now, because I'm adept in it, now I just hear a thought. Like, I didn't think that. Like, it'd be like, you stupid. You'd be like, wait a minute, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you're not... Because you're downloading things. That's why they say nothing's new under the sun. Like, no ideas are original. They might seem original, but they come from somewhere. It's like download. So as far as the phone, like the more mindful you are, you start understanding yourself and different things when you're on there. Like, you put it like this: if you know their mind controlling us, say with devices or television, knowing it alone makes you like you can repel it easy. Like, you can't penetrate a mind that knows what you're doing if you're aware of these things. So mindfulness makes you aware, and it creates like what they call emotional intelligence. So, and that's real good for kids, because kids need to know what they feel. Adults do, because sometimes we don't know why we're feeling what you know what I'm saying? We don't know why somebody steps on your shoes and makes you mad when it was just a mistake. Remember people used to get killed at clubs for that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the way you process information changes, and you don't have emotional responses about everything. And anybody that knows me, I'm not a very emotional person unless it's something that really hits home for me. And I gotta say that's because of my years of meditating. It's only been about 16, 17 years maybe I've been on this, you know what I mean? So imagine a child, like, because my kid's mom, she would, every morning, before they go to school, you brush your teeth, wash up, put your clothes on. You got to stand in the mirror, look at yourself, and say an affirmation. I am beautiful. Today is going to be great.
That's deep.
Da-da-da-da.
I like that.
And it trains you. Just like working out, because you can change yourself. Like, people talk about their weight, or somebody might think they're too skinny. Just do it. Like, you can literally go lose weight if you just do it. You know what I mean? You can literally... If you want a six-pack, you want muscle, you can literally just hit them push-ups every day if you decide to do it. Now, you can change your mind. You can control your own mind if you just do it.
That's deep. I follow, and I think that's definitely deep because, yeah, I do a lot of, like, wake up, look in the mirror, give affirmations, or, like, focus.
Yeah.
Is that eye to eye? And I urge of a lot of people to do this because it's tough sometimes for people to sometimes do it.
Yeah, people don't like to look in the mirror. I noticed that. People don't like, I don't know what it is.
Especially, like, because even me, like, if I do some bullshit, I know I'm doing some bullshit because I can't really look myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I like being able to look myself in the goddamn
mirror. I had that happen. I was, years ago, I was working at Kroger. I was like 19, and I didn't have no lunch money or something that day, right? So they used to have these, the buggies full of the understock.
Yeah.
So I take stuff out of there. I go to the bathroom and eat it. So this one time, I think I had a Chewy bar or something, and I'm in the bathroom. I'm eating, and I looked up at the mirror. I'm like,
this is some sucker shit.
Come on, dog.
This is some sucker shit. I mean, to me,
it's so funny. It's just I look crazy, man. I'm like, oh my God, Mark, what are you doing, bro?
And that's the other thing I've learned just in, from some of this. I've gotten better at interviewing and everything, and I love this stuff. Like you say, I'm passionate about it, but body language is so revealing sometimes to people because sometimes you don't even really got to say nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if a person really steal from you and they know it, sometimes you just walk in the room.
You can tell.
And the person's just whole behavior like,
you
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's rare to meet somebody so like disassociated that they like, because that means that they stole with the intention of feeling as though I'm more deserving of this and I'm supposed to have this. Yeah. And that's rarely the case. But I'm using steal, but anything, any like backdoor side, diss or speak bad on your name and they know it's some bullshit. And then, and that's the weird thing also about like in my life, how I know in that same past, the manifestation, I really don't want to see him. I really don't want to see him. I hope I don't see this person today. And every time I felt that way, bam, that person is right there. It's like, damn.
Yeah, it's that mental energy. It's like you make somebody call you if you want. Just think about it intentionally. It's this book called Cyclomancy that teaches you how to intentionally do stuff like that. Man, I'm talking about, some real alcohol stuff, like going in people's dreams at will, stuff like that. Because it's just energy. I mean, it's just energy. And it's not this crazy as it sounds. It's like these are the tools God gave us.
And this is the other thing, too, that I want to close on this. This is kind of like a Sterling type thing, too. Sometimes, because this is the question I have for you, as you tapped into this, you said 16 years of meditation.
Yeah, about 16, yeah.
And your, I don't like to want to say like, as you get better in your own life, but as you transcend where you're going in your journey, sometimes people ain't connecting with you on that.
Oh, absolutely. It's lonely. It's lonely.
And knowing as that journey is connected, it can sometimes be tough because part of that relationship. So the analogy I'm gonna use here is for like I don't know, people that have had people that like struggle with addiction. And it's people that have struggled with addiction in my family. And part of it is sometimes not even really to getting high, as much as that's the community they have.
Yep.
And that's what they connect to.
I agree.
And it's almost like a toxic shock to transition from this space of like, because it's the whole journey. It's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? We got to scheme up on something. And that's why I like The Wire so much, because the story of Bubble spoke on so many levels of a lot of the people I know struggling with addiction. Because it's like, it's the scheme in the day. Can we try this? Can we try that? And then you create community with these other people that kind of know you from that, and you could end up in a better, quote unquote, healthier place for maybe your body, and for the people around you. But mentally, your community is still here, and it's like where you are more welcome, and you feel like I'm comfortable here. Hence, it's a level of like I'm comfortable in this space. So you on your journey, as you start like I guess unlocking different things in you, in your mind. What was it like connecting with the family, the friends, the people around you, the people you work with?
Well, for me, in the beginning, you like, oh my God, I learned something. You just want to, tell the world. But honestly, I kind of like it now. I like that I know a little something more than somebody else does. Because, like I said, no, I don't believe. It's not belief for me. I know what time it is, so I just look at it like, not to be arrogant, but almost like everybody's like children. I equate like how kids are, like a kid be like, Daddy, the sky's red. Okay. I'm not about to argue. I don't argue what I know. I might go back and forth. I'm like, oh, never mind. I don't argue what I know. So you get in a space to where you can enjoy people for what they believe. You know what I'm saying? You can enjoy people because a lot of times when you argue with people about stuff, you're trying to convince yourself. So it doesn't bother me no more. I mean, it is lonely because sometimes a synchronicity or something crazy might happen, and if you're not with the right person, you can't be like, yo, so I did this thing where I stared at a candle. You know what I'm saying? You just leave it be. But nah, people are people. They believe it's their journey. It's their own journey. And I don't judge people for what they believe because I believe everything is real. Like and unlike are the same. That's one of the laws of the universe. Just like the first law of the universe is the mind is all, the universe is mental. So whatever you believe, that's that. for sure. Like if you grew up in a church, you believe Jesus died for your sins, you believe you got heaven or hell to face, guess what? When you die, that's absolutely what you have waiting on you. So like and like are the same. So no, I don't. It's not as bad as it was. Now it's just like whatever. I know what time it is, and
But for those closest to you, that's still like family and everything
yeah,
like that. I guess now, they'll say like, that's, I know their perspective may be like,
yeah.
yo, this is.
I mean, most don't. Like my cousin sitting here. We was talking the other night. I mean, we're just having a regular conversation. He's like, so what makes you think this or that? So we just had a conversation. He just wanted to know. I didn't take it away. Because that's part of building. But and not saying him per se, but somebody else maybe like I realize where they at. I'm like, well, there's no point of explaining it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point of explaining it. But no, it doesn't hinder relationships because I don't wear it. See, the thing now with a lot of this new age thing, people they wear spirituality as a costume. And don't even really know nothing. You got your dashikis, you burn incense, and you don't even really know what time it is. I don't believe in Jesus, but now you're a vegan and you went from Jesus to kale. You know what I'm saying? You worship vegetables. You know what I'm saying? It's like whatever. It's just all about where people are at. But no, it hasn't hindered any relationships. I remember my mom. She would joke with me a lot. She'd be like, "What devil book is this you got?" You know what I'm saying? And that's what I love. Like I grew up in a church, and they were church folks, but they didn't sit up talking about
And
church stuff all day.
I've had this discussion with, I talked to my dad and others. Like, to me, and it's interesting you bring that up about Black people's journey in Christianity, whereas I think our journey in Christianity, and you follow it like Coptic Christianity, and it's like, okay, it starts in the Horn of Africa and things like that, but a lot of the journey in the church was community for most people.
Yeah.
And that's where they go, especially as you age, because, I often think to myself, if I were primarily like, if I'm a middle-aged woman and I need community and I want a place where where I can hold a post and connect with people, gather friends, be around, and I'm definitely not diluting it to this. But I think that those are some of the other intrinsic values that are associated.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
If I'm a, you know what I'm saying? If I'm a, I'm a brother from the community, just worked a regular job, and you know what I'm saying? I feel like I really haven't got nothing, but now I can be a deacon or I can be a trustee. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool. That's something that like I can be proud about. You know what I'm saying? Whereas what other opportunities in communities like ours that usually exist? And like I say, I'm not diluting it to this. But I think that those intrinsic
much more
values
than just
add more than, because usually, like you say, in the argue, you convincing yourself, or you either convince yourself, I think two things, because I agree with that too. You either trying to convince yourself that you're smarter than this other person, or you trying to convince yourself of the point that you're making to this other person. But either way, if you sit and you open up the Bible to most Black folks and you be like, well, if you look at this in the Council of Nicaea, and they not.
That's why I say your spirit. Your spirit has to be ready, because I can tell you why this isn't real, what this really means. I can show you a whole booklet of it, but if you're not ready for it,
it don't make a difference.
So, like I say, if religion serves you, like for community, and like for me, my grandma, she went to an apostolic. And the vibe was way different. Yeah. Like they baptized me not against my mother's will, but without my mother's permission. And I never liked the vibe there, but when she remarried and we went to a Baptist church, I loved it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for, I just loved the people. Everybody was nice. Everybody was smooth. It was like a part of something.
What was gathering and the connections to it. Because, even here go the other thing. Technically, you know what I'm saying? A Baptist preacher, he going to get up there, he going to read one quote and then, talk for 2 hours within, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then you could go to the next Baptist church down the street for the next service and he read the same quote and his interpretation is completely different.
Yeah. So you gotta read it yourself. And that's one thing a lot of people, they don't read about it. Like that. The preacher tell you what's in it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't read the Bible. You know what I'm saying? But that's a part of it. But no, I can dig it. Like I was at a stage where I kind of felt a way about it just because I started waking up and learning different things, and I felt like we were lied to or we wasn't given. It wasn't fed to us properly.
But I think most things, and this is where I stand on everything in America, every institution that was given to our people, and from the meeting earlier, because I was like, man, look at our community. It's a reflection of our community, because it's basically a group we gather in, and they were like, man, some of these people is chaotic and they don't make no sense. And I'm like, look at our community. Look at what America has given us. What institution has America given black people where it's like, you know what? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Education, medicine, businesses, banking, housing. Like, if it involves black people and it's in this country, it ain't like it was given to us in a package where it's like, that's amazing. What we got was the chitlins of everything. Like, you know how they say,
I like that a lot.
You know what I'm saying?
Chitlins of everything.
And what we did through our ingenuity and our power through God and other things is the same way we took them chitlins and made it into something where eventually them white folks was like, yo, let me get some of them damn chitlins. You know, what you doing over here with that? And whether that be hip hop, whether that be chitlins itself, whether that be like what we do with cars, whether that be what we do with clothes. I mean, when you really think about what America's mass producing, I used to say that if you took Detroit away from Michigan, Michigan is like North Dakota or something. The reality is, if you took black Americans away from America, America is Estonia or Austria or Norway. When you look at how the world perceives everything cool about America, it's us.
It's us.
It's us.
Absolutely.
K-pop is us. You know what I'm saying? Them British people want to come over here. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was kids, man. 1992, the Dream Team is over in Barcelona. These people don't know how to they don't know English. They don't know nothing.
Yep.
They see this bald-headed black dude, which I'm still mad about that because Isaiah should have been on that team. But let's just go. They see this bald-headed black dude that is the biggest athlete in the world. Now, you can say, okay, well, that's because Phil Knight and Nike, and they put together the right campaigns and all of that. Who did they go to make the campaign? They went to Spike Lee. You know what I'm saying? Nike existed before then. It was a shoe for people running.
Yep.
They needed the ingenuity of black Americans to make him what it was and all of this stuff.
Yep.
Where it's like, damn, on the Olympic stage, meaning like every quote unquote hundreds of countries looking.
Yep.
And what do they want to see? Michael Jordan.
Yep.
They barely can say his goddamn name. That's us.
Yep.
We are that sauce. So we've taken so many things from this nation and what we've been faced with on all of the things that have calcified to continue to go against us. And we make this shit fly.
Yeah, we do.
We make this shit worth coming to. We make this shit worth connecting to.
We do. We definitely do. You
know? So with that, this is my new question. A new question that I definitely want to get your feedback off of. It's like I was saving this one packaged for you. As of currently, right now, your favorite adjective and why?
That's an interesting question. Powerful.
Break it down.
Maybe that's just my goal. I want to be as powerful as I can be, and I feel powerful. I feel powerful because I feel I'm the master creator of my reality, and it makes me able to praise myself when good things happen and to hold myself accountable when bad things happen. So I'm never like, I have the power. I'm never like blaming anybody else for things that's going on in my life. And Lord knows I have a lot of ups and downs, especially the last few years. But yeah, powerful.
That's deep.
Powerful.
All right, now the classic ones. Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Buick, 83 Buick LeSabre. I got that 2001.
Okay. Where's the first place you went when you got it?
Where did I go? Scooped up my girlfriend at the time.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah. Okay, now that's a way to roll, my brother.
Yeah, scooped her up because I didn't have a ride, so it was kind of a strain on us. You know what I mean? Yep.
Oh yeah, catching the bus to your girl house is definitely
like, getting dropped off. She getting dropped off. You know, I had a girl leave me in 11th grade because I have a car.
that will happen in Detroit.
One of them cast technicians. Just I ain't gonna say that. Start with the A, 2001. You know who you is. But yeah, that's where I went. She literally said that's why. Like, I'm like, what's up? I thought she was like, you ain't got no car. I'm like, damn.
Oh.
Literally, yep. That's literally
that
why.
One hurt.
Yep.
That one hurt. It's like, damn, you don't want to hop to Dexter?
Damn, man. It's like that. I thought you liked me for me.
It's happened to a lot of us,
man,
in Detroit. People in New York and Chicago, y'all got mass transit. Y'all don't know nothing about that struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about that struggle. All right, you the DJ at the end of the fireworks, right? You get to play 3 songs. Woodward and Jefferson. What 3 songs you playing?
Oh man, that's these. Because there's so many. Oh man, hold on, man. Woodward and Jefferson, after the fireworks. Yep. Everybody's dispersing.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness, man. I would play Warren G, This DJ.
Okay.
I would play Nas, Take It in Blood.
These are some family ties.
And I would play, SOS Band, Just Be Good to Me.
Okay.
I love her voice. I love Patrice O'Neal's voice. And it's like a vibe. It's like, that's the we riding out now from this fireworks. This DJ is more the credit roll. And the Taking in Blood is the vibe. Like, I always got. You know what I'm saying?
I never brag how real I keep it because it's the best secret. What do you say?
Like a vest, prestigious, Cuban link flooded Jesus.
And the what do you say?
Lex Washington Lee and Regis.
Yeah. My actions are one for the seasons. Ooh, that was do. Oh man, the Track Masters was killing that track.
Yeah, they killed that.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite ones. That was so good. It's like as much as I love Tupac, I was like, I gotta rock with this one, Pac.
Oh yeah, it's like come on,
gotta rock with this one, Pac.
I mean, he just described everything.
I love that song. I made it like that. I'm born like that. I'm living like that. All right, so last one. You can rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Coleman Young.
Why?
I mean, he's like, he made it ill, man. You know, he was like, he was the god, man. You know what I'm saying? Like he made it ill, man. He wasn't playing around. You know, he didn't project his politicalness. I know it's not a word. You know, in a square way. He was just who he was.
I'm with it.
He made it. He made us what we are.
That's what's up, man. It's been a great build. I've been meaning to get you up here, and it was talk about the presence of mind. This was the perfect time to do it, man. Yeah. Just going through it. It's actually Mike Will here, your cousin here. It's been a good build. We gonna definitely chop after this, and drop the name of the book. I'm gonna definitely have it in the lower thirds and all that. One more time. Yeah, Mindful Minis, mindfulness exercises for children. And where can they get it? Amazon.com. If you have KDP Unlimited, you can get it free. You can read it free. Okay. But, you know, it's like $3. And I will have print, but I'll let you all know when I have the print. I'm buying some and I'm getting some to the little homies. If it come before Christmas, you getting some stocking stuffers, something to read, something for you to exercise your mind. Beyond just this thing. Yes, please. Little homies. Tablets that became the babysitter of 2023. Man. All right, peace.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.